Well, thank you so much for hopping on. Hello, welcome to today's information session on Infy Maker Awards 2022. My name is Stephanie Santoso, and I'm a senior program fellow with Infosys Foundation USA. I'm really looking forward to sharing more details about Infy Maker Awards and how you can participate in this really wonderful opportunity. This opportunity provides funding and professional learning support for K-12 teachers to engage their students in computer science through Maker education. So here's a little overview of what we'll be covering during today's session. I'll be providing an overview of Infosys Foundation USA and the Infy Maker Awards. We'll spend some time reviewing the application and judging process and timeline. And then we'll also talk more about how you can use the funding you receive if you're selected as a winner and the unique professional learning experience you'll participate in. This will be led by the nonprofit organization Digital Promise, and my colleague Maria Romero, who is the project manager for Maker Learning at Digital Promise, is here with us and will provide some additional information about this. We'll also have time at the end to field any questions you have, and I'd encourage you to enter any questions you have in the Q&A box throughout our presentation, and we'll do our best to answer these during the second half of the session. So since 2015, Infosys Foundation USA has been expanding computer science and maker education to K-12 students and educators across the US with a focus on supporting underrepresented communities. These grants that support innovative programming and professional development and several signature programs and initiatives. The foundation works really closely with teachers, school districts, nonprofit organizations, and other key partners. So the Infy Maker Awards is one of the foundation's signature programs. To date, the awards have supported maker education initiatives in more than 100 communities and have provided more than $1 million in funding and professional development support. Two additional initiatives that you might be interested in are the Pathfinders Online Institute and Pathfinders Summer Institute. These are two other signature initiatives of the foundation. And the Pathfinders Online Institute is a really dynamic online learning platform that provides free, high-quality computer science and maker education content for K-12 students, teachers, and families. So you can access all of this online and create a free account through the Pathfinders Online Institute platform. And through that, you can access a really broad variety of lessons, activities, and tutorials from different leading content providers. And you can just see a few examples here, which include Microbit, BirdBrain Technologies, and Raspberry Pi. So the Pathfinders Summer Institute provides an intensive professional development experience for K-12 public school teachers looking to deepen their skills and experience in specific areas of CS and maker education. So last year's virtual event brought together teachers from 46 states across multiple disciplines. And this year's Pathfinder Summer Institute will consist of a continuous offering of free live courses hosted by 14 expert PD providers from May through August 2022. So let's turn our focus back to the Infy Maker Awards. So this year's awards competition is focused on supporting K-12 teachers who are engaging students in computer science through maker education. Infosys Foundation USA believes that all K-12 students must have the opportunity to create the solutions, technologies, and products that address important challenges to make their communities and the world a better place. But to achieve this, K-12 students need to develop 21st century skills that allow them to thrive in the digital economy. CS is one such essential skill, but we know that access to computer science is not equitable, and many underserved and underrepresented students in STEM fields and in computer science find CS to be really inaccessible and irrelevant. But by contrast, maker education really provides multiple pathways for all students to engage in hands-on computer science in ways that are personally relevant, personally meaningful, culturally relevant, and inclusive. So this year's contest is open to K-12 teachers who are teaching at a public, private, magnet, or charter school, and can include schools with specific areas of focus. So if your school has a focus in the arts, it's an arts-based school, or it's a STEM school, or a CT, career and technical education program or school, we're looking to support the work that you're doing. And the school where you're teaching must be legally registered as a 501c3 or 170c1. If you're chosen as a winner for the Infy Maker Awards, the grant that you receive will be given to your educational institution, whether that's your school or your school district, for you to use for your project or initiative. This year, we are specifically focused on supporting K-12 students in several high need areas. So I wanted to flag these. So in particular, you don't have to be a teacher that meets these criteria in order to apply, but we are prioritizing teachers that are working in Title I schools, teachers that are working in rural communities, as well as teachers who are serving neurodiverse students or students with disabilities. So this year, as in previous years, we will be selecting 10 Infy Maker Award winners. Each winner will receive a $10,000 grant, as well as the opportunity to participate in a customized professional learning experience hosted by Digital Promise called the Making CS Inclusive Cohort. And we're super excited to be partnering with Digital Promise on this. This is something new that we haven't done before for Infy Maker Award winners. And Maria will join us in a little bit to share a little bit more details about what this cohort looks like and the experience will look like for you all as teachers if you're selected as a winner. The $10,000 is flexible funding and can be used for a really wide variety of purposes. So that could include materials, it could include the purchase of technology or equipment. If you needed to make structural improvements to a classroom or another space, if you're in your school, you could use the funding for that. You could also use the funding for projects for students, for impact and assessment research that you might want to do around curriculum or lessons that you've developed in this space, or for community outreach and engagement. So in terms of the timeline for the competition, April 26th is the deadline to apply for the Infy Maker Award. So applications are open now, and the deadline is 5 p.m. Pacific time. In mid-May, we'll have finalists announced. So the finalists will be selected and announced on social media. And then in early June, winners will be notified. So winners will be notified either by probably most likely by both phone and email. And then, and we'll ask the winners to keep that information close hold until late June, which is when we're going to publicly announce and celebrate the winners at NomCon, which is the National Maker Leaders Conference. NomCon will be taking place virtually this year, so we'll have a big celebration that we can all join in on virtually from wherever we are. And then in August will be the virtual kickoff of the Making CS Inclusive Cohort for winners. And then September through April, so September 2022 through April 2023, the Making CS Inclusive Cohort will meet and check in monthly. So it's a really great opportunity for teachers to have a chance to connect with other like-minded teachers from around the country, to collaborate on work they're doing at this intersection of maker-centered learning and computer science, and an opportunity to share the work that you're doing and have other peers help you address challenges that you might be having as well. So to apply, if you're interested, and we hope that you are, you just need to visit infymakers.com and click on the Enter Now button. You'll be taken to the online application on the platform Submittable. And if you've never used Submittable before, you'll just need to create a free account. It's pretty straightforward, it's pretty user-friendly. So the first portion of the application is really straightforward. You'll be asked some basic contact details about yourself as the person entering and your school. And then we also are going to ask you to note if you are working at a Title I school, a rural community, or serving students who are neurodiverse or students with disabilities. And then one thing to flag is that if you're chosen as a winner, you'll have the opportunity to invite up to 2 other colleagues to participate in the Making CS Inclusive professional learning experience. And so we'll ask you to name these 2 individuals in this section of the application. In order to receive the $10,000 grant, if you're chosen as a winner, we do require that at least 2 people participate in the professional learning experience. So that could be yourself and then 1 other colleague. In the project narrative and accompanying elements section, we'll ask you to just tell us a little more about the students and family you serve, what motivates and inspires you as a teacher, and then provide a detailed description of how your school would use an Infy Maker Award to engage students in computer science through Maker education. The description should describe the challenge that the project is looking to address, provide some details, key details about who the project will serve and how the project will be structured. So if you plan on having any additional partners, both, whether it's within your school or in your broader community, we'd love to hear about that. And then we're also asking you to identify the computer science and maker education concepts that align with this project. And we've actually included examples of what those concepts are in the application. So you'll see those referenced in there. And then in addition to the project description, we'd like for you to provide a budget for how you use the $10,000. This doesn't have to be a detailed line item budget, but we would like to see how you more specifically plan on using the funding, realizing that, as your project develops, sometimes things change and you might need to make some shifts and changes to how you spend the money, but just for us to get a better sense of how you're going to use that funding would be really helpful. And then the last, there's just 2 last main elements of the application. So we are asking each entrant to submit a short video, so no more than 90 seconds, which really creatively just talks about you, your school, and how you would use the Infy Maker Award to impact the lives of your students. This doesn't have to be a high production video unless you want it to be. So if you like video production, by all means, feel free, to get creative. But in the past, some of the most moving videos and the most sort of effective videos that we've received in applications are really simple, and you can film the video on your phone, and I think most applicants do that. Finally, we ask that you provide a support letter from either your school leader or school district leader, whichever you prefer. So that could be your principal, the principal of your school, or the superintendent or assistant superintendent of your school district, which expresses his/her their support for your project and your participation in the Making CS Inclusive professional learning experience. And we've actually included a letter template in the online application, which you can use just to make it easier for you as you're reaching out to your school or district leader. So I wanted to just briefly share some details about the criteria that we'll be using to review each application. And you can actually, and I would highly recommend, we have a PDF of the contest, the complete contest rules on the infymakers.com website, the website for the awards. I would recommend that you review that as you're applying for the awards, but and the more details about the scoring criteria are included there. But I did want to just provide a little overview of the criteria that we will use to review and score each application. Need is weighted most heavily here. So as I mentioned, we're prioritizing K-12 schools who are working at Title I schools, working in rural communities, and teachers serving neurodiverse students or students with disabilities. So that's our top scoring criteria. The strength of the proposed plan is another key area where we're really looking to see whether the project description, the budget, and video together really indicate a well thought out idea that's strongly needed by your school and community, that's ambitious but also is feasible. And then a third criteria is the educator's perspective. So we want to see that as a K-12 teacher, you share a clear and strong perspective about what motivates you to create opportunities for students to engage in computer science through Maker education, and that your perspective is aligned with the Foundation's commitment around diversity, equity, and inclusion. And then sort of rounding out the criteria, innovation, we're looking to see within your proposed plan that your plan demonstrates a creativity and resourcefulness, in particular in addressing any current challenges or constraints. So we recognize that, these are challenging times. And so you might not have all the resources you need. There might be other challenges that you're facing in doing this work, but that you've thought about the ways to kind of creatively navigate around those or address those challenges, or start to address those challenges. And then the last element here is the support letter from your school or district leader. So I wanted to, as I'm wrapping up here, I wanted to recognize and introduce this year's Infy Maker Awards judges who have extensive experience in Maker education, and to also just thank them for providing their expertise and their experience in helping us to select this year's Infy Maker Awards. Among this judging panel are teachers, leaders in Maker education in both the classroom and informal learning spaces, and individuals who are doing this wonderful work in museums and libraries across the country. We also have several former Infy Maker Award winners serving as judges this year, which we're very excited about. And in previous years, we've typically had at least one Infy Maker Award winner as part of the judging panel. So you'll probably be hearing some more from these judges via social media as we get a little closer to selecting our finalists and winners. But I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to my colleague Maria Romero at Digital Promise, who will share a bit more about the great professional learning opportunity that Infy Maker Award winners will have through the Making CS Inclusive cohort.
Thanks so much, Stephanie. Just want to flag, it looks like I'm not able to turn on my video, just from that, I think that same glitch we were having last time.
No worries. I'll try to address that as you're presenting. Thanks, Maria.
Thank you. So hi, everyone. My name is Maria Romero. I am the project manager for Maker Learning at Digital Promise. Digital Promise is a nonprofit organization that works at the intersection of researchers, entrepreneurs, and educators to build powerful networks and take on grand challenges. And so I'm super excited to be here and to share a little bit more about the Making CS Inclusive cohort. So as Stephanie mentioned, it's a multi-day virtual professional learning experience that will kick off with a virtual summer kickoff in August. In your application, you will be able to identify 2 colleagues who will be able to attend and participate in the professional learning with you. This virtual summer kickoff will be framed in the challenge-based learning framework. And so in this time that we'll have together, we'll work on identifying problems of practice from your proposed project with the goal of identifying solutions for sustained Maker learning experiences for CS education. And so on the right hand side of this slide, we have a graphic that illustrates the 3 parts of the challenge-based learning framework. That's engage, investigate, and act. And so we'll kick off with engage by identifying an concrete and actionable challenge that we'll spend our time together working on. And so to identify that challenge, you'll start with a big idea. And so this might look like focusing on tools and materials or documentation or thinking about partnerships within your project. And once we identify that challenge, we'll move into the investigate phase. We'll engage in a guiding questioning process of that challenge to identify, what you might need in your foundation to be able to address that challenge. And then we'll move into the act phase where we'll be able to identify potential solutions that you'll be able to bring back with you. And so part of this work, as Stephanie mentioned, that we think is really beneficial and really a great opportunity within this kickoff is that we'll have the opportunity to engage not only with our colleagues in our own organizations or schools, but also with other cohort members. And so we really want to honor and recognize the vast experience and expertise that cohort members will join with. And so we really hope that within that time, folks will be able to engage across schools and learn from one another. And so if we might be able to move to the next slide. Thank you so much. And so building upon that virtual kickoff week where we'll identify those potential solutions to the challenges you identified within your proposed project, we'll have the opportunity within the following year between our work together to continue through individual support and cohort professional learning. And so that individual support looks like each month cohort members connecting with Digital Promise for us to support you on your project and really target our professional learning. And so what this looks like is shared ownership over an agenda where we hope that cohort members will let us know how best we can support them in any areas where you might be experiencing challenges, or if we want to continue working through the solutions that you identified through our work together in the kickoff. That time is really meant for us to support cohort members and their work in whatever way that we can. In addition to that individual support, we'll have monthly support in the form of our cohort professional learning sessions. And so that's when our entire cohort will come back together, and we aim to design this part of our professional learning based on what we learn from our cohort members and the individual support. So we'll aim to identify themes and related challenges, and also areas where we think cohort members might be able to support one another in their work. Like I mentioned before, we recognize that everyone will come in with so much expertise and experience, and we really want to be able to highlight that through our work together. And so the culmination of that work will look like an end of cohort convening, which I believe is still to be determined if it will be virtual or in person, but our hope is that we'll be able to celebrate the work of our cohort members from throughout the year and identify opportunities to sustain that work beyond this experience. So very, very excited to share more about this cohort experience and professional learning, and excited.
Thanks so much, Maria. Yeah, we're very excited about the opportunity to work with you and the Digital Promise team to support Infy Maker Award winners and the projects that they'll be leading on this year. So yeah, so with that, I think we have wrapped up our sort of overview portion for Infy Maker Awards this year. And just wanted to thank you for taking the time to join us today to learn about Infy Maker Awards. If you are interested in applying, really encourage you to visit our website, infymakers.com, for any additional information. And then that's where you can also directly link to the online application to apply. But right now we have some time to address any questions that you all might have. So I'll go ahead and stop sharing my screen, and then we can check out the chat box just to see if there's any questions. But if you do, if anyone does have questions, please don't hesitate. Feel free to go ahead and drop those into the Q&A box that you see there in Zoom. And I see, okay, Kara. Kara has a question regarding the support letter for nonprofits. Who would you prefer the letter come from? So the letter really should come from either your school. So I think one question, Kara, is so eligibility for this year for Infy Maker Awards is we're very specifically focused on supporting K-12 teachers. So those teachers need to be working at a school or affiliated with a school district. So the support letter should come from either the school leader of that school, so the principal, or the leader of that teacher's school district. So either the superintendent or assistant superintendent. So yeah, so for this year, nonprofits with after school and summer programs themselves would not be eligible to apply because we're focused on K-12 teachers specifically. If you're working with a K-12 teacher that's working in a school district, they could apply, and it could be the project could be a collaboration with an after school program or a summer program, but the entrant needs to be the K-12 teacher. I hope that clarifies things. And I know that in previous years, the Infy Maker Awards have been open to educators both in the formal learning space and in the informal learning space. For this year in particular, with a lot of the challenges that we know that all educators have had challenges over the past couple of years, but in particular, we thought it would be important to in particular provide support for K-12 teachers in those high need areas that we had mentioned in Title I schools, teachers in rural communities, and then those that are serving neurodiverse students and students with disabilities. So yes, Kara, to clarify, yeah, the applicant needs to be a teacher in a school because the grants for Infy Maker Awards this year, we will be giving them to the teacher's school or school district, depending on how they're applying. And if there are additional questions that come up after this information session, I would encourage you to also check out we have the full contest rules on the Infy Maker site. But you can also reach out to us after the session as well if you do have additional questions. And I will follow up. We'll follow up after this session with a recording of today's information session. If you have any colleagues that would be interested in applying and weren't able to join this session, please feel free to share the information with them. We'll also send around a PDF of the deck that we used here as well as a reference. There any other questions before we wrap things up for today? We're really excited about the opportunity to continue to support the great work that you all are doing at the intersection of maker education and computer science education. And we really feel strongly about the ways that maker education just creates so many multiple pathways and inclusive pathways for students to engage in computer science. So well, with that, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today, and we look forward to receiving your application. Thank you so much, everyone.